You've got ideas, you've got ambition, you've got no time, or so you think. I'm Marissa Lonick, and I help busy moms with big dreams and no time. Join me each week as I dive into time management strategies, goal setting and achieving framework, and inspiring guests who are juggling mom life, work life, fill in the blank life. Dreams don't work unless you do, and just because you're a mom doesn't mean you can't still make it happen, whatever it means to you. Welcome to the Mama Work It podcast. Hello, mama friends. Welcome back to another awesome episode of the Mama Work It podcast. So glad you're here. I'm your host, Marissa Lonick, working mama for and founder of Mama Work It, where we support women in the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. I am so excited to have Anna Dearmon Kornick today on the show because I just know what she has to say is just going to vibe with all the goodness I love to talk about. And I know I'm going to learn a ton from her when it comes to time management and productivity. So Anna is a time management coach, wife, and mom who helps busy professionals and business owners master time management so they can stop feeling overwhelmed and start spending time on what matters most. As the host of It's About Time, a podcast about work, life, and balance, Anna shares time management tips, productivity strategies, and real life advice to help her listeners make the most of their time. In addition to teaching actionable takeaways, Anna interviews other go-getters to find out how they navigate family, friends, fulfilling careers, and full schedules. This is going to be so good, you guys. Anna, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to dive in.
Yeah, me too. I totally geek out on this stuff, as I think you probably do too. So before we go into like our total nerd mode here, tell us a little bit more about you and just your journey to where you got today.
Sure. Well, first, thank you so much for the opportunity to spend time with you today. As a fellow mom, gosh, I know all about that juggle and the struggle and trying to make things happen. And I think it's really important for me to share first and foremost that while I might be a time management coach and I have written a book about time management and my podcast is all about time management, I was not born some kind of magical time management unicorn. This is not something that came naturally to me. In fact, I used to be the late friend among my group of friends. You know, there's always one or a few. Maybe you're listening and you are that late friend. I also am still mortified to share this, but I was late so many times in a single quarter when I was working in PR at a PR agency that I was written up by my supervisor for being late. So I think that just goes to show that if I can do it, you can do it. So my journey to becoming a time management coach, I never expected, of course, that I would end up in this place. I certainly didn't talk about being a time management coach when I was in kindergarten doing our, career day presentation. Most people don't say, "Oh, I'm going to be a time management coach when I grow up." But my first job was actually in Washington, D.C. I had landed my entry-level dream job as the scheduler to a United States congressman. So my days were spent meticulously managing every minute of my boss's time from the moment he woke up in the morning until he ended his days. I was a brand new professional trying to navigate time management on my own, as well as somehow manage time for someone who had to be everywhere at once, it felt like. I remember a day when his calendar literally had 3 different events taking place all at the same time, and he expected me to find a way to make it happen. I was like, short of cloning you, we have to make some choices here. And I loved DC. I loved the hustle and bustle of Capitol Hill government life, but I'm from Louisiana. We were chatting a little bit about New Orleans before we pressed record. And if there's one thing you need to know about Louisiana, it's that our food and our culture really is second to none. It cannot be duplicated. And I really started to miss home. I started to miss my family. And so I said goodbye to DC and I moved back to Louisiana, where I started a 10-year career in the 24/7 world of crisis communications and government affairs, where literally every single day was a disaster. I worked through earthquakes and hurricanes and oil spills and tornadoes and floods and droughts, not to mention some crazy situations like nonprofit embezzlement schemes, universities that were on the brink of financial collapse. There were even some nude swimming scandals that I had to clean up. It was wild. You picture communications fixers on TV that are whisking people down freight elevators and into alleys in order to avoid TV cameras outside, and that was a pretty regular part of my job. Every day was some type of crisis that had to be brought to order, some kind of chaos that had to be organized, and I loved it. And I was good at it. Maybe a little bit too good at it, because eventually I looked up and I realized that there wasn't room in my life for anything else but work. My boundaries were invisible. My health was deteriorating, and my relationships, frankly, were crumbling, mainly because I was missing. I was missing things. I was missing out on important milestone life events like friends' baby showers and wedding parties. But it was missing my stepdad's 70th surprise birthday party that really was the last straw for me, because we don't get a do-over on those milestone moments. I don't get a second chance to go back and have those memories. And I knew that something had to change about the way that I was living. And it was either the burnout was going to win or I was going to find a better way. And so I quit. I quit what a lot of people thought was my fancy, prestigious crisis PR job in search of something better, in search of something different, and in search of a life that I actually wanted to live and enjoy. And so, after a lot of books, I picked up every single time management, productivity, goal setting, values, vision book that I could get my hands on, discovering coaching, a lot of trial and error and mistakes made along the way. Now, every single day, I get to help women either dig themselves out of that dark place of burnout that I had found myself in, or I get to help them avoid it altogether. For me, it's so rewarding to help busy professionals, business owners, especially moms, stop feeling overwhelmed so that they can spend their time on what truly matters most to them.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that background. I read that initial story about you getting written up at work in your book. And I just have to ask that manager now that wrote you up, like, have you talked to that person since then? Are they just like cracking up seeing what you did with your career and your life?
I haven't. I have been so tempted to reach out and just say hi and see how she's doing, to reach out to the owner of that company to see, how he's doing. Because it really is me at that point and me now just are two completely, not completely different people. I mean, at my core, I'm the same person. My values haven't changed, but I guess you could say that I've learned how to live life and manage time in a way that fits me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for sharing that background. I always love to hear people's stories, and I know our listeners do too. Did you become a mom, I'm curious, during that PR career, or was that post quitting?
That was post quitting. I, looking back, have no idea how I could have possibly managed a family while in crisis PR mode. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Sure.
But I think that the timing in my story, that those two things just weren't meant to overlap. That I had a lot of work to do on myself before being ready
Hmm.
to become a mom. Um, I was in the, you could say, the searching phase, the trial and error phase. Whenever my family started, I called myself a leadership coach for a while. I wasn't serving any clients, but I was diving into leadership. I was creating content. I was blogging about leadership, but something just didn't quite feel right.
Mhm.
And I remember I was working with a coach who had come to my house. I was working at home. My first daughter, Camilla, let's see, she would have been 4 months old, was in the living room with a babysitter. The coach and I were in my office, and it was May 21st, 2019, I stood up and I said, I am a time management coach. That is what I am a time management coach. That is what is happening. That is what we are going to do. And it's just so special to look back on that moment, to have, baby Camilla, 4-month old Camilla, playing tummy time in the living room with a babysitter while I am birthing a business in the room next door. And so my business grew alongside my babies.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I love how you remember that date specifically. That's awesome. And there is something to be said about the empowerment of speaking words to life.
Hmm.
So even just the fact that you solidified your niche, your target, the purpose of what you were doing in your coaching business, and maybe even pivoted a bit at that time, and
Hmm.
speaking it out loud, I'm sure just kind of propelled you full force into what you do today.
Hmm. Hmm. It was scary. There weren't very many. I can think of two at the time, doing a Google search for time management coach, two people coming up.
Mhm.
And I remember thinking, can I do this? Can I make this a thing? And I just hit the point of no return and said, hey, I'm doing this. I'm a time management coach. Let's go.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive into some time management stuff because, again, you and I, we love to talk about time. And if you're listening, I know you love to hear about it. So tell me, in your opinion, what do you think's the biggest mistakes moms make when it comes to getting better at managing their time?
Oh yeah, I see it over and over again, and it usually starts with heading to Target and buying a new planner.
I love that.
Oh yeah, the biggest mistake that we make when it comes to improving our time management or fixing our work-life balance, we typically either go buy a new planner or we open up our Google Calendar and we think, okay, what can I rearrange? What can I fix? What can I change? What productivity hacks can I learn?
Hmm.
But the thing is that you can buy a new planner, you can move things around on your calendar, but it's not going to change the way you feel when you walk into a meeting that you dread. A new planner isn't going to shorten the length of an overflowing to-do list. Those things, they're tools. They don't get to the roots of our time management struggles. And so that's why I like to say time management doesn't start on the pages of our planners.
Hmm.
It starts by getting to the heart of what matters most, by getting crystal clear on your vision for the future. And that's the part that we like to skip. We like to skip the vision work. I did it for years. I bought more planners than I can count that had, that workbook section in the beginning where you write out your vision for the year and you make a vision board and you answer values questions, and that's supposed to help you use the planner. Well, I would always skip all of that junk because I didn't have time for that. I just needed to put my dates in the calendar. And now I understand, looking back, I'm like, oh, well, there's a reason why you're not supposed to skip that. Because when you have a clear vision for the future, every single decision about how you spend your time, or literally anything, becomes so much easier. Because everything either moves you closer to your vision or it doesn't.
Hmm.
But that's the part that's easy to skip over because it feels fluffy. It doesn't feel action oriented. And plus, who has time to just sit around and think about their big vision for the future? I mean, we've got to make it to carpool on time.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said this. I feel you on this 100% because I used to be that woman too, ad nauseum, that was like, I don't have time for that. Who has time for that? Like, I'm busy. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And so I really get that. And I get where that mindset comes from, especially with moms, because let me tell you something. Even if you're a mom, I mean, you know this, I know this, and you have a not busy day, it's full. Like your schedule's jam
Mhm.
packed between the
Mhm.
driving, the getting everyone ready, the laundry, the this, the that, the work, fill it in. Like it's a full day. And we're so used to that comfort zone of go, go, go and chaos.
Mhm.
And even like if someone asks us, hey, how you been? How you doing? The answer is always like busy, not good,
Mhm.
not fine, but like wearing the busy badge of honor. And
Mhm.
and it's almost like when we're not busy, when we like if we could potentially give ourselves that white space to vision board, to think about these goals, to brainstorm, right? It's uncomfortable.
It
It's
is.
uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Mhm. You mentioned when people ask, "How are you doing?" And we're so quick to respond with, "Busy." My favorite is when people say, "Oh, busy," but it's a good busy. It's good busy.
just
Just like,
just clarifying, you
okay.
guys. It's good.
It's good. It's like, I am absolutely insane and losing my mind, but everything's fine.
I'm fine.
That's the
Do you ever
way
see
it
that
feels.
meme where it's like, I'm fine, everything's fine, we're fine, right? And she's like exploding
Yeah.
with, yeah, totally.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Totally. But you're right. It is uncomfortable because we, as a society, are rewarded for doing,
Hmm.
not for thinking, reflecting, or being. You can't see reflection because it doesn't look like an action. And we tend to have this bias toward action and moving and doing.
Hmm.
I mean, I have a friend who can't take a shower without having music on or listening to a podcast. She is constantly listening to something because she doesn't want to be alone with her thoughts.
Mm.
Because when you're alone with your thoughts, then you start thinking about things that you could do and why aren't you doing them now and everything that you have missed out on. And you start to feel guilt for not doing as much as you could. And it's hard. It's challenging when you don't have a roadmap or some type of instructions to follow for creating a vision.
Yeah, absolutely. And coaches definitely help you get there, guys. I mean, I've been working with
Mhm.
coaches on and off since 2015. Anna, it sounds like you have been working with coaches for quite some time. They are so instrumental in helping you
Mhm.
realize this. Not that you can't do this work solo, but to have that objective third party in place, guiding you, asking you the right questions, giving you the exercises, putting you in your discomfort zone is
Right.
so invaluable in the process. So,
Mhm.
I'm curious to ask you, a time management and productivity pro, when it comes specifically to your life and managing your time, like what is the one thing that's a non negotiable for you?
Oh, yeah. Non-negotiable is a weekly planning session. I do not know how people function without them. The answer is not well. They function day to day.
Hmm.
They have that hamster wheel
Yeah.
feeling. But for us, for my family, a weekly planning session is what enables us to do life without losing our minds. For us, that looks like taking a look at the week ahead, getting that bird's eye view of, okay, what's on the calendar for me? My husband and I, we both run businesses. We run businesses together. So it's getting an understanding of, all right, what's the vibe for the week ahead? Is this week going to feel relaxed because we've got white space? Or is this week going to feel crunched because we have a lot of meetings and appointments and I'm flying out for a speaking engagement? What's the week going to feel like? Based on what the week is going to feel like, what kind of adjustments do we need to make? Where do we need reinforcements? Where do we need support or help in order to make this week work in the form of calling a family member? Or maybe we need to get a babysitter, or maybe we need to plan to do takeout one night just in order to reduce meal prep stress. But we take a look at the week ahead. We make decisions. We map out who is taking the girls to school, which days of the week. We tend to have this pretty routined out. We both use a Google Calendar as a communications tool. It's not just a place for meetings. This helps us communicate. I mean, I'd say that having communication via Google Calendar to know where people are going to be and what time, I mean, that's a marriage saver right there.
Yes.
I mean, because it just everything's clear. But having that weekly planning session enables us to plan meals for the week that are adapted to what our week looks like. Like I said, if we have a crazy busy day, we're not going to plan a complicated meal that evening that
Hmm.
requires a lot of prep.
Hmm.
We're going to go simple. We're going to plan takeout. And when we make those decisions in advance, it frees up our minds to be more present in the moment. And when I say present, I don't mean zen like everything is super calm and chill all the time, but it keeps us from losing our cool because the small decisions have already been made in advance. Weekly planning session is wrapped up by checking the weather, which in Louisiana until November, the answer is just hot every day. But I head over to my girls' closets. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they are still amenable to me picking out their outfits. And so I pull 5 outfits for each of them and hang them on little hooks in their closet. So that's just one less thing that we have to do during the mornings. This weekly planning session is when decisions are made, prep work is done, and we're able to head into the week with our game plan, knowing how we'll move through the week before the week even happens.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, so some follow-up questions to this if people are listening and they want to implement this in their lives. Number one, do you do this like Sundays, Sunday nights?
Typically at some point on
Okay.
Sundays. Sundays is our most flexible day
Mm-hmm.
of the week. And so if there's a moment when the girls are quiet and watching Super Kitties on TV, I'll do it then. If my husband is doing bedtime stories that night and I have the night off, I might do it then. So it just depends, and I'm very flexible with it, but it always happens on Sunday.
Okay. Gotcha. And how long does this whole process take you? Because I feel like for someone who doesn't do this regularly and is hearing all these things you're doing, it can sound daunting to that person. And it probably is much easier than they're thinking. So tell us, like, in a nutshell,
Right.
how long does this take you?
Sure. Well, it's really funny. It's almost hard to answer that question now because the nature of Sundays at home with a 4 and a 2-year-old mean that interruptions are
Mhm.
almost constant.
Yeah.
And so I may take 5 minutes to review my calendar for the week and get an understanding of what the week's going to feel like. And then 30 minutes later, after fixing snacks and changing a diaper, I'll go back to it to look at travel for the week. And so I'd say that in the moments where I'm able to sit down and do it start to finish, maybe 30 minutes max. And part of the reason why it doesn't take very long is because I have an agenda. Now, I don't have a typed out, timed agenda. When I first started doing weekly planning sessions years ago, I did have a step by step checklist that I would follow. One, look at the week ahead. Two, identify any tough spots. Because having that order of operations for looking at my weekly planning session, that's what created a habit that is now so ingrained. I don't even have to think about it. It just
Mhm.
happens.
Mhm.
But if you are getting the habit installed, think about what are the things during your week that you want to plan, because you have to have a plan to plan. What do you want to plan? Where do you experience friction? Do you often forget to wash the soccer jersey after practice and have it ready in time for the game? Do you forget to put the dance bags in the car? Where do you find yourself tripping up during the week? And how can you incorporate that into a beginning of the week planning session so that the decisions are just made in advance and it's done? Maybe for you, that looks like picking out outfits. Maybe it looks like deciding when you'll get your workouts in if your schedule isn't super consistent. Um, but having that step by step and then practicing following it, before you know it, it's going to become so ingrained. It's just second nature.
Yeah. Such great tips. Thank you so much, Anna. All right. I could talk about this stuff all day. I know you could too, but we're going to move on to our lightning round now. Are you ready?
Okay,
Okay.
yes, I'm a little nervous, but let's
Yeah,
do it.
let's do it. Okay. These are just fun, random questions, just so our listeners can get to know you a little bit more personally. All right. So
Okay.
tell us, are you more of an introvert or an extrovert?
Total extrovert, off the charts.
Okay. Yeah. What if you could go on vacation anywhere in the world tomorrow? Where would it be and why?
I would go to Nyara Springs in the Arenal region of Costa Rica because that's where my husband and I went on our honeymoon, and I am dying to go back.
That sounds magical. What is one app you cannot live without?
Oh my goodness. I don't want to be boring and say Google Calendar because, of course, I can't live without that. Definitely can't live without my Asana app. Oh, this is hard. Oh, Headspace. I can't live without Headspace.
Mm.
It's a meditation app. It's amazing. But it's not just meditations, it's sleep stories, it's focus music. It's so good.
Okay, are you a regular meditator? Because I this year committed to meditating daily. That was one of my 2023 goals. And so I've been doing pretty good at that. I mean, I did it on and off, in years past, but this year that was my goal. So are you a daily meditator? Tell me.
That is okay. That is awesome. I love that you are diving into that daily meditation practice. So, truthfully, in the past, I have been very consistent and I have fallen away from it. And you're not going to believe this, but over the weekend, I did a little bit of a habit
Yeah,
inventory and I made the decision that's one habit that I want to restart. So I've got my habit tracker set up. I use streaks to track habits, and 5 minutes of daily meditation is what I'm aiming for.
so good. Yeah, and you really like using Headspace for that.
I
Mhm.
do. I have both Headspace and Calm, and I like them for different things.
Awesome. Love that. And you guys, if you're listening and you're like me, past version of me who was like, meditation, who has time for that? I'm too busy. I'm go, go, go all the time. This is like the best kept secret. I think every time management and productivity guru out there, every successful person that you follow or look at, they are doing this, even if it's 5 minutes a day. Like it is so helpful to avoid, to prevent chaos, meltdown, like burnout, all that stuff that happens when, you are not quote unquote managing your time effectively. Like this is something you must build into your routine. Okay. Just a little plug there.
Definitely.
All right. Anna, what if you could eat one food for the rest of your life? What would it be? Calories don't count.
boiled boiled crawfish.
I love how quick you are with these answers, by the way. Like you're definitely a productivity person. I can tell. All right. Finally, what is something most people don't know about you?
Okay, that's hard because I'm such an open book. Here is something interesting. I was a member of the National FFA Association from the time I was in seventh grade until I graduated. FFA stands for Future Farmers of America.
Hmm.
As a result of taking for 6 years of agricultural classes in middle school and high school, I know how to weld, pour concrete, wire electrical sockets. I can take 4 chickens side by side and tell you which one has laid the most eggs. I can identify cheeses and tell you about different deficiencies and issues with milk and identify milker parts. Um, I have such a treasure trove of random. Oh, I can take you on a nature walk and identify trees and give you an overview of the most profitable way to manage a tract of land based on cutting down trees. And I raised pigs for a period of time in high school, which all of these things, most people would not assume that I have this agricultural background, but I do. And now you know.
Oh my God. Okay. If there were an award for like most fun fact on the show, I feel like this would win number one.
It's very
I have so
random.
many
Yes.
follow-up questions, but we are out of time. We'll have to ask you those off air, or people will just have to reach out to you. So where can they find you if they have follow-up questions or if they just want to learn more about what you do?
Yes, if you have any questions about chickens or milk judging or time management, come and find me on Instagram, Anna D. Kornick. That's where I hang out a lot. But most of all, I would love to invite you to tune into It's About Time, my podcast about work, life, and balance. I have new episodes that go live every Monday, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Awesome. Well, Anna, thank you so much for sharing some of your precious time with us here on the Mama Work It podcast. This has been such a great conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to the Mama Work It podcast. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. and would love if you could take a quick minute to leave me a review on whichever platform you're listening from, and maybe even send a note to a fellow mama friend recommending it. Reviews and recs help this podcast grow and reach more like-minded, awesome moms. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click that button so we can stay in touch, girl. By the way, if you haven't checked out the Mama Work It website, please do. There are lots of free resources and great articles there that can help you with the juggle of work life, mom life, wife life, fill in the blank life. So head on over. Thanks again for being part of the tribe. I'll see you soon, but in the meantime, keep on working it, mama.